Hi there, friends. I'm Scott Wakefield. I'm lead pastor at First Christian Church of Greene County, and I am here today with
Pam Crank.
and we're going to have a coffee convo. Thanks for being here, Pam.
It's good to be here, Scott.
You are the executive director. Is that the correct title?
Yes, I like that one better.
Okay.
Sometimes they call me the administrator, but
Oh.
I like executive
Let's
director.
let's go with executive director. Pam is the executive director at the Hope Center here in Greenville, which is our local, not just crisis pregnancy, but that's how we think of it, crisis pregnancy center. And we'll get up into that quite a bit, but tell us who you are and where you came from and give us just a little bio and that good stuff.
I'm originally from Ohio.
Yeah.
Don't hold that against me.
I will not. I hail from Cincinnati.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're Columbus, or am I thinking wrong?
About an hour north of Columbus. I'm from the Mansfield area.
That's right.
And
Yes,
that's
okay.
Richland County.
Okay.
And I've been here in Greenville for about a year.
Yeah.
And the job at the Hope Center brought me here.
Uh-huh.
And I have been married for almost 47 years to my husband, Dave. I married the boy next door, high school sweetheart.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep, pretty cool. And we have 2 grown children and 6 grandchildren.
Nice.
So life's busy.
Yeah.
But good.
That's a lot to keep up with.
Yep. So right now we're, I guess empty nesters with 2 Piradoodle dogs. Those are the kids now. So
What kind of dogs?
they're Piradoodles. So it's a cross between a Great Pyrenees
Okay.
and a standard poodle.
I have never heard of a Piradoodle, but everybody's doing a lot of something doodles.
Doodles, yeah.
We have a golden doodle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all kind of look the same, and they seem to all act the same. So, yeah.
So what's the best part about being a grandparent?
Oh, goodness. That you can just love them and just send them home.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what everybody says. But, we really enjoy them. We spend a lot of time with them. I think it's just being able to, you don't have that pressure of being a parent, but you can teach, and they don't realize that it's teaching or that you're just instilling qualities in them and just that, time that you get to spend in them. But the pressure's off. You don't have to worry about clothing them, feeding them, that type of thing. So it's wonderful.
That is pressure, to clothe and feed
It
and
is.
educate and
It is.
drive to this thing and discipline, etc. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't have to do that.
Cool. So you got here through Hope Center.
I did.
And Hope Center is a ministry of Free Will Baptist Family Ministries.
It is under their umbrella.
Yeah.
They are their own LLC. So
Okay.
we
Yeah.
are that.
Yeah, right.
But we are under that umbrella. When I was in Ohio, I worked for a pregnancy center there, and I did that for almost 15 years. And so that bug kind of gets in your system. I love the work of the pregnancy center that
Yeah.
it does. And I had actually retired.
Yeah.
I had started as a volunteer.
So you thought.
So I thought, that's right. I enjoyed that for 2 years. And but I started at the pregnancy center in Ohio as a volunteer.
Yeah.
And then went on to be on the board of directors, and which was kind of a strange kind of career path, kind of seems like. And those are times when you don't really know, understand, and you're looking, but when you look back, you see why the Lord placed you in those roles.
Yeah.
Because after serving on the board of directors for 3 years, then the position of executive director came open, and it's just like that nudging of, it's time for you to apply for this.
Yeah.
So I did,
Yeah.
and that's kind of like a long story short. I was their director there for 9 years.
Cool.
So yes,
Cool.
and basically how I got here.
Yeah.
The CEO of Family Ministries, of the Free Will Baptist Family Ministries, is from Ohio as well. I
That's
knew
right.
him.
That was the connection.
Yes,
Right.
and I knew him there. He was really good friends with my pastor there.
Okay.
And so he had been to our church numerous times, and so I knew him for quite a long time. And
Yeah.
he also served on a board of directors of a pregnancy center that was just north of my county.
Okay.
And so he had invited me to come down, I think it was in 2019, and just do some consulting with their pregnancy center here. So I did that, and he just kind of jokingly, was said, hey, you just need to come down and help us out. And,
Yeah.
and at that time, it just was not a good time for me. My mom was living with us at the time. She had Alzheimer's, at the very end stages of Alzheimer's, and I knew I just couldn't leave her then.
Yeah, sure.
And so I told him I would just come down and, just
Help.
give some ideas and
Look over
things to bounce
yeah.
off of you. And
Yeah.
so that's what I did. And, but, as time went on and, we got down to all coming through the dreaded 2020 of the COVID type of thing, pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And my mom passed away in October of 2020. And it just seemed like my world was kind of just at just an odd place, going through, that grieving period.
Sure.
And just kind of feeling at a loss of what was all going on in our world. And I just felt that there was just more for me to do besides being at home and working jigsaw puzzles. I thought the Lord probably had something maybe a little more productive for me to do. And
That's a good little, it's almost a pretty decent little sermon illustration there. Don't spend your life just doing jigsaw puzzles.
that's right. So it really kind of just came down to a point where I was just really kind of broken one evening, and just during prayer time, and just said, Lord, is there a work for me to do? And
Yeah.
and I really kind of prayed, I did. I prayed very specifically, and I don't normally put out those fleeces and that type of thing.
Right, yeah.
But I
Yeah.
did that evening, and really prayed specifically that if there was a work, and I was really kind of thinking of the maternity home, more so than really the pregnancy center.
Okay.
And said, if there's a work and I can be of help, that, you'll have Jim McComas call me, who is the CEO of Family Ministries. Well, 2 days later,
Who called?
who called?
Yeah.
I looked down at my phone, and I would have loved to have had a picture of my face. And I guess
That's awesome.
the humor in all of this, Scott, is that I failed to tell my husband that I had prayed this prayer and said, hey, honey, we get to go to Tennessee, And of course, he's thinking of, we've lived in our home for 33 years, and he's thinking he's going to have to pack it all up tomorrow and go. And
Right.
And so after he got over that part, realized that, no, we don't have to pack it up all, tomorrow. Well, we've got a little time. He was good with that. And so,
Cool.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Twice now, I don't want to forget to ask this, twice now, after I said Crisis Pregnancy Center, you said Pregnancy Center. Is that kind of the better verbiage that we're supposed to use now? I think of that in my head because I know that's what we used to call it.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Years ago,
Yeah.
that was the term that was used. I don't use that term a lot.
Yeah, I've heard you a few times not.
Not.
And I'd noticed
yes.
that before, but now twice in our conversation,
Right.
you've said it
yeah,
differently than I did.
Yeah. I prefer just a pregnancy center or
Sure.
a pregnancy resource center.
That's good.
And the reason being, as time marches on, years ago when crisis pregnancy centers were created,
Right.
that's what they were labeled and
Mhm.
termed.
Mhm.
That's, time has gone on, and as our world changes and our young people change, they
Mhm.
have a different way of looking at things, a different way of maybe, I don't like to use the term label, but preferred not to be labeled. They really don't see themselves in a crisis.
In a crisis as much, right?
They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we want to be more of being about offering resources.
Sure.
Whether that's medical,
Yeah.
material,
Right.
educational, spiritual,
Yeah.
emotional, those are all resources. So I think using that term, Pregnancy Resource Center, better capsulates what we are, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. It's almost like instead of talking about it from the negative,
Right.
we're fixing this problem, that we're helping you, and
Right.
verbalizing those things as positive resources. That's good. Yeah,
And they're getting to choose, what they want. How much do they want to play a part in this? Not so much me telling them that, well, you're in a crisis, so you need X, Y, Z.
right, right. Taking some of those cues from them
Correct.
in those ways. That's good. No, that's super helpful. I thought about that weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I thought I need to make sure I ask some of those questions, because I still think about that work, I think, in that different way of talking
Right,
about it.
right.
Yeah. Let's get back to Hope Center plenty here soon, but we have some questions that were sent in, so I
Okay.
want to, and most of them are Hope Center questions, but are you a dog or a cat person?
A dog.
I was about to say, are you a dog and a cat person, and why a dog person? Because obviously you already have dogs.
Yeah, I
If you
do
told
have.
us,
I
but-
have to admit, I do have a cat. We've got one. We've had her for, oh my goodness, I don't know, probably 16. We've had her actually longer than the dogs, but she was the runt of a litter. Showed up unexpectedly, but I'm definitely not. I have to watch people send me hate mail,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm
that's-
definitely more of a dog person.
All right. That's a lovely answer.
That's a safe one.
Yeah, that's right. In your opinion, what's the best Mexican restaurant in Greenville?
Well, since I've only been here for a year, I have
Yes.
not tried them all. So there again, but I do like
And there
Casa
probably
G's.
are like 10 or 11
There's
of
a
them.
lot of them.
Yes.
But I do like Casa G's.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that one is a good one.
Yes, Casa Guerrero it is. Indeed. Good stuff. I'm a salsas person. That's my preference, but, Casa Guerrero is good. So we heard a little bit about how you got involved with the Hope Center. What have you found so far about Greenville, Greene County, and moving here? And of course, Mansfield's a larger area. I would say
A
it's
little bit.
a city in comparison to us,
Right,
for sure.
right.
What has been a different, unexpected transition, like what you thought it'd be, unlike what you thought it'd be? What's that transition been like in coming to Greenville, Greene County? Because it's relatively the middle of nowhere compared to Mansfield, Ohio. But just interested to hear some of that. Because we came here from Chicago,
Wow.
and it was a different animal altogether.
Altogether.
And of course, that was 20 years ago. And Greene County has changed quite a bit since then. What have you found about some of that transition?
Probably you're right. Mansfield is a lot larger city.
Yeah.
But for me, I guess I lived in the country part of,
okay.
and so I didn't live in Mansfield proper,
Right,
to
right.
say. So maybe the transition as far as being so rural is not as great as
Yeah.
it has been for some people. I like the small town, slower pace. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, yeah.
That is nice. Probably frustrating is now grocery stores are great. They're but as far as more like the retail stores
Yeah.
are very limited.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah. You can't just think, oh, I need to go to the store for.
No.
And you know it's close. You may have to think, okay,
Yeah.
so what's in Johnson City or Morristown?
Yeah.
Or,
I have to
yeah.
plan this trip.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So
depending
that's
on what
been
it
a
is.
little bit different.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But overall, it's been a fairly, easy adjustment.
Cool.
It's never easy, leaving your family, and things. But now
Sure.
it's been kind of nice since we have been down here. My daughter and her family have moved down here, so
Ah.
that has made the transition.
So you're bringing the whole
I'm working on it.
crew to God's country.
Now, when I can get my son down here, we'll be complete here.
That'll be the coup, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And actually, my daughter, speaking of her, just kind of interject this, we were talking about the Hope Center. She will actually be the house manager of the
Oh.
Honeysuckle Studios
Oh.
when the maternity home opens.
Cool.
She will be managing that.
Oh. Good stuff.
Oh, that'll be good.
So tell us about the Honeysuckle Studios.
Okay.
What is that?
Honeysuckle Studios is a maternity home
Mm-hmm.
that we will be opening soon.
Yeah.
We just did our ribbon cutting about a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
A lot of people there.
yes,
There
yeah.
were way more than I thought there'd be.
Considering it was a nasty day,
Yeah,
kind
it
of
was
like
rainy
today.
out. Yeah. It is rainy today. Yeah,
Right.
there were a lot of people there.
Yeah, it was a
I
good
I was
turnout.
pleased.
We'll be able to house up to 5 women who are pregnant.
Okay.
And for what reason in their life, there's various reasons that they find themselves homeless.
Sure.
Where they're needing housing, they will be able to come to Honeysuckle Studios, be able to live there for, on an average of about 18 months
Wow.
at no cost to them. They'll be on, we'll work with them,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what's going on in their life,
Yeah.
whether they need to be on a career path, whether they need to be on an education path. Maybe they'll come to us having not completed their GED.
Uh-huh.
We can help them with that. Or maybe they've got that part done, but they need to look for further education to be able to, what we want at the end of all of this
Right.
is for them to be able to live independently, be able to be productive, be able to provide for themselves and their child.
That's great.
And so that's the end result.
Yeah.
So, a lot of things in the middle of all of that. There's obviously probably some maybe counseling needs that are going to be able to need to be addressed.
Mhm.
So we'll just have to look at each individual that comes through our doors and just work with them. But it'll be a home setting.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I shared at the ribbon cutting. I just look for it to be just like in any home where there's just going to be a whole lot of living, loving, and learning going on.
Yeah. And they're together
Hmm.
in that environment.
Right. They will eat a family-style meal
Mhm.
together at least once a day,
Mm-hmm.
where one of the girls will prepare,
Okay.
and then the others will clean up.
Cool.
And part of that is many of them will come to us and really not have a sense of what family is like.
Yeah, yeah.
So they'll be able to sit down, learn to have a conversation. How was your day?
Mhm.
What happened? And
Well, that's setting healthy patterns
right,
for
right. Just
for this
yes.
kid.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So they're modeling. We'll be modeling that.
Cool.
But they're also learning life skills.
Yeah.
They're going to learn how to cook. They're going to learn how to prepare a budget, how
Mhm.
to grocery shop, and how to prepare healthy meals.
Yeah. There are a bunch of cool, creative ways
Oh yeah.
that they would be involved in those processes
Mhm.
that that are preparation. Like
Right.
it's literally practical
Mhm.
preparation
Mhm.
for all that.
They'll learn how to do laundry.
Super cool.
You'll think that's kind of a common thing, but
Wow. Yeah.
I've already been warned that I need to get ready to buy washers and dryers because they said, Pam, they go through them, they destroy them. I don't know. So I'm kind of like, okay, what's that going to look like?
Yeah.
Do they put too much laundry soap in or what?
It'd be like if I were in charge of the laundry.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense to me. I can see that would be the case. So Honeysuckle Studios will have, what did you say, 5?
Up to 5.
Up to 5.
Mhm.
And as long as 18 months.
Mhm.
That was, when you said that, I thought, okay, well, obviously it has to be 9 months, and
Mhm.
a little more than that, and maybe
Yeah.
12 months or so would be a decent average. But as soon as you said 18, and then you were talking about all those other things,
Mhm.
I thought, well, that totally makes sense.
Right.
It's going to take much more than just getting you through getting this
Right.
baby born. It's
Right.
preparation for all that
Mhm.
stuff.
It's,
It's
they're
gonna take a
going to
bit.
have to have income, so there's going to have to be a time of, maybe they don't, ever even thought of a resume or what are their job skills. So we may
Right.
have to invest in that first.
Right.
So get them a job, get them where they're saving money so that, they can look for an apartment or
Right.
maybe, if some of them are farther along, maybe they can, as far as their job skills, a down payment for their first home. We're going to have to look at providing or them choosing proper daycare. What do you look for in a daycare? You want your child to be safe. So, you have to make sure that all of those things are in order before you want them out living on their own. Some of them are probably coming through addiction issues.
Yeah.
That's they're going to have to be clean for at least 6 months before they come to stay with us.
Oh, okay.
But then we all know that if we don't have the safety nets in place, that it's easy to slip back into that lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah.
So just working with them on things like that, make sure they have supports in their life, whether that be through a church or a recovery group, and that they're going faithfully to that and they're involved.
Yep.
That's why we really like working with the churches, getting them, because in the end, even at the pregnancy center, we may have them 18 months to 2 years, but after that, we're going to have to let them fly. So we hope to always get them, kind of locked into a church where they can become, in that body, and the church there can just continue that loving on them and supporting them.
Yeah, for sure. That they have the ongoing community that they've built there. Super cool. Is there anything else about Honeysuckle Studios that is part of a dream and vision that you would like to see down the road? I mean, obviously, it's just about to open, and this is way down the road, and there are tons of things. I mean, what you've named already, I just was thinking,
Right. Yeah.
that's a ton to try to make happen.
Down the road would be really nice if we were large enough and had more space. Is to obviously have a daycare of our own. That makes sense. That connection there makes sense.
Yeah.
And be able to, a lot of the women have other children. Those children may have been removed from the home
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
What percentage of women in a Honeysuckle Studios, you called it a maternity home? What percentage of women in a maternity home have other children, do you think?
Oh, I would.
Regardless of what the situation might be, but
I would guess it to be probably as high as probably 95% of them probably.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Gotcha.
So, there are maternity homes that are set up that they can have those children there. So that would be a dream.
Cool.
Plan B, way down the road, would be to have just a small, kind of like little annex houses where they're not really living in the group home maternity, but having small houses close by that we own and operate, but they're living there independently. But we can, if we're close enough close by that if there's a problem, they come home there.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like maybe just a step into their own apartment, just kind of that second step up.
Yeah. That's super cool. So many possibilities there. So, give us a sense of, talk about Honeysuckle Studios. We haven't really talked about some of the services and what's provided, the resources available at Hope Center. You named a number of categories earlier on, but give us a sense of the scope of what Hope Center is doing in basic terms.
Okay.
Aside from Honeysuckle Studios.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Hope Center has some neat programs going on. One of them that I really like is what we have. It's called a Earn While You Learn program. And that's a mentoring program where we partner the moms or dads, because I know a lot of people are surprised that we do have dads that come in.
Yeah, that's great.
So we partner them with an experienced mom or experienced dad.
Okay.
And they, our clients choose their curriculum, I'll get that word out, as to what they want to learn. And it depends on when they come to us. If they're in their pregnancy early, we'll talk about everything from first trimester on down to when we go to what's going to happen in the delivery room. We want to talk about that and everything in between.
Okay.
We talk about
The
good,
practical things that are going to
that
need
go
to
along
happen.
with pregnancy,
Okay,
yeah,
right.
and that in parenting. How do I care for this child that's been, I'm going to deliver here. Basic infant care.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about nutrition for mom and baby.
Right.
We're going to talk about safe sleep. What's that look like?
Yeah.
Just as they get
The
a little
whole
bit
gamut of
older,
it, yeah.
we'll talk about how do we handle potty training? What can we do for these temper tantrums that are coming on? There's
Yeah.
life skill things we can talk about. We got one little gal. It's really cute. We're working with her on why it's important to have a schedule, keep your schedule, keep your appointments. What's that look like? And some things that we take for granted in common that they just struggle with.
Yeah.
And but while they're going with that program,
I actually overslept for my first
There-
meeting today. For the first time. So don't take it for granted.
Yeah, we got some things we can cover with you. Yeah, but while they're in the program, they're earning what we call baby bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And they can take those baby bucks to our boutique
Mm-hmm.
that we have. And everything in the boutique is either brand new or it's gently used.
Cool.
And they can pretty much get everything they need for the baby its first year.
Yeah.
And I like the mentoring because it's one-on-one. And we can sit down and say, okay, this is our lesson for today. This is what we had planned to cover. But, she may come in and say, I just really need to talk about something.
Right.
I need to just really, so, we'll just put that
The
aside and
situation's
say,
going
this is
on.
what. Yep.
I'm fearful about this. Whatever. Yes. Right.
And, I tell people, it's like, well, where can you go and sit down for an hour, somebody to listen to you and to hear you, and not cost you anything?
That's right.
It's great.
And one of the difficult things that, as you were talking about this, one of the difficult things in our world today is that the interconnectedness of the nuclear family, it does not basically exist in this country or world in the ways that used to fulfill those needs.
Right.
That was just a normal, integrated, everyday thing for families. Not that families were all super intact 60 years ago plus, but the family is so fractured
It is.
nowadays that I would say easily, and you would anecdotally be able to tell me this definitively or not, but the overwhelming majority of women bearing children do not have that as a part of their normal, like there's not always a mom or a grandma around to help in those kinds of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super important.
Yeah. Years ago, it's just like you said, you would either have mom or grandma,
Sure.
or your aunt would live, close by, that support person. But nowadays, for whatever reason, maybe, the woman has had to relocate.
Oh, yeah,
She's here
sure.
and doesn't hardly know anyone.
And the average adult by the time they're 40 has changed jobs like 15 times or something crazy like that, right? So people are moving constantly.
Right.
Even just those kinds of things can upset that element,
Right.
whether or not there are other things going on. Yeah.
And I think that's why we have seen such an increase in our child abuse, shaken baby syndrome. They're I don't really believe that they're bad moms or they're bad women, but they're at the end of the rope. They needed a break and didn't have it.
Right. Right.
And so, we can provide that. Come in, spend some time with us.
Yeah.
Let us love on this baby for a while.
Yeah.
And just give her a break, give her some support. We often get a lot of our clients that have been ordered through the courts
Okay.
or through DCS. They've been ordered to take our parenting classes or our mentoring sessions.
What percentage of those who you get are required in some sense because of that to do that, and what aren't?
I would say probably about 40% of our clients are court ordered.
Okay, and the rest know you're there,
Yeah,
might
probably,
call,
From
website, word of mouth.
That's the biggest, maybe my sister came when she
Okay.
was pregnant,
Yeah.
or so
And of that 60%, would you say word of mouth is more how people come to Hope Center
definitely.
than the others?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
What else goes on at the Hope Center that people may not be aware of, and just give us a.
I think one of the things that I have found since I have been here
Mhm.
is that they do not realize that we can do their pregnancy test and their ultrasound. Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
I didn't know that until recently. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
So, as long as they are not already under the care of an OBGYN,
Okay.
then we can do that for them. Once
Okay.
they start their prenatal care, then obviously they just need to go see their doctor. But prior to that, so
Hmm.
if they're suspecting that they're pregnant, we can do there again. All of our services are free. And that kind of takes down some of the barriers, especially if it's a younger woman, younger girl. She doesn't maybe want her parents to know quite yet. So she doesn't want it to go
Scared
to
about
her,
things, may not know what to
yeah,
do.
her insurance and that type of thing. So
Okay.
she doesn't want to show up on there. And a lot of the college girls, they'll go through with that. So that way, that kind of takes away that barrier. They can come to us, and it doesn't cost them anything, and then they can find out whether they're pregnant or not. And we talk to them about their options.
Sure.
Obviously, we do not provide or refer for abortions, but we do educate. So we if they're leaning towards that,
Yeah.
we work with them as to,
Here's
what.
the kinds of things you're going to experience.
Yeah,
Here's
yeah.
what this involves in practical
Right.
terms.
Right, right. Just like with any medical procedure, you want to
Mhm.
know what you're going to get into,
Mhm.
and it's just kind of nice to do that in a an environment where you're not pressured. So, and we're not benefiting over one way or the other over any choice that she's making. So it's a time where she can process. A lot of times I've worked with girls and I've just had them, we make a list, pros, cons. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. If we could do this, would that, would you choose to carry or,
Yeah.
or create an adoption plan? So, they do have those three options. They're either going to parent, they're going to create an adoption plan, or they're going to choose an abortion. But we, at the end of the day, we want them to really have thought about.
Right.
A lot of times they feel like they have this just small window. They're on this, fast track on a train.
I'm sure
and they
that's
have to,
true.
And I think that's why a lot of times they make that choice very quickly without having thought it through, or the
Because the feelings of the
consequences.
pressure and the
Right.
emotional. Yeah.
Right. So we can slow that train down a little bit.
Yeah.
And just provides the support. A lot of times it's like, well, how am I going to afford diapers? How am I going to afford this? And
Yeah.
we're explaining, okay, we've got classes, we can do this, we can
Right.
come alongside, and
Right.
and so.
Yeah. That's super helpful. One thing I've noticed about you is a few things about you talk about what Hope Center does with a care and tact that, like you were just saying about, these are the three options you have. Even if you choose this one, we're going to do this in a way that, obviously, we're sitting here coming from a pro-life perspective.
Correct.
Duh. But we're going to help you make the best decision you can, given the circumstances. And we're going to do this in a way that's helpful to you, that's confidential. This is one of the things I was thinking about as you've been talking this whole time. And I've heard you say things in a way that just are very careful with all that, because we really are talking about one of the most important things that could possibly happen on the planet ever, which is the birth of a baby.
Right.
And so it has to be done with this kind of tact and care, because it's involving everything for often very young women,
Right.
not always, but that is brand new and weird and different, and it comes with a whole bunch of cultural feelings and emotions, and a person is at the end of some of those sometimes, who may be pressuring me a certain way or not. Yeah, and being open-handed and helpful to resource them
Right.
is a
Yeah.
that has to be the tactic.
Yeah. It's always been important to me that I've not ever walked in her shoes. Everyone has a story,
Yeah,
and sometimes they'll come in, and you may find out what that story is. You may not. They may not want to share that.
right.
But I can never be, and nor do I, and I try to train our staff and volunteers this way, is that non-judgmental. I think the perfect example that Jesus gives us, and I use it a lot when I'm training at the pregnancy center, is the woman at the well.
Oh yeah.
He knew exactly her story.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what her life was like, but he didn't point fingers at her, and he didn't say, he didn't, condemn her, but he asked her all these questions, and what are we, how are we gonna, he pulled all this, but at the end, by doing that, he was able to win her and to, to direct her and help her, and. So that's what we try to do at the pregnancy center. It can be, this is a very hot button topic.
Sure.
But I'd rather try to work with someone on, let's try to find a solution here to, we can argue this all day long.
Right.
One way or the other. I'm going to believe what I'm going to believe, but there is a child through all of this,
Right.
and whether they choose to acknowledge that or not. So my thing is to try to provide services that will help her during this time, and to just make the best of a situation that she probably was not planning on, obviously. So I can point fingers and I can condemn, but what have I done? I've alienated her.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's not saying that, I'm agreeing with, what happened, or like I said, sometimes I don't know that story. So,
Right.
you know.
Right. And there's a very, I mean, it's almost simplistic to say, but there's a very clear sense in which pregnancy resource centers, do I have that right? Pregnancy resource. The pregnancy resource centers are saying sort of open-handedly, we realize this is the situation. We're not here to ensure that you think all of the things that we think about this life that's in your womb. We're here to help you in the ways that we can. In ways that, and I was struck by this as you were talking about Honeysuckle Studios, and how much is involved in helping these women in ways that help equip her for obviously raising this baby, but making the best decision she can for herself and this baby, which may not necessarily always have the logical consequence of a pro-life position. But to be pro-life is to open-handedly help every single one of those babies that comes in, and those women that come in. And even if the thinking is wrong in someone, in a woman when she comes in with that baby, to have helped and resourced and equipped her in ways that are open-handedly loving her is winning and being faithful and a witness, regardless of the consequences that we can't always ensure. Yeah.
And sometimes we never know.
Right.
We never know the end of the story. Many times they'll come and, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm, and then you've shared and you've poured into them.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it might be 5 or 6 years later before you might perchance, or I've had them. I've been at the pregnancy center, worked long enough that I've had them come back, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's been 3 or 4 years maybe, and they'll do a pregnancy test, and they'll say, "Oh, I was here 4 years ago. My little girl is now." But up until that point, I did not know.
Yeah, and I bet you don't know a lot
A lot. Mm-hmm.
of what ends up happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have one shot. You have just one time
Yeah.
to invest in them, and but that's the neat thing with the maternity home, the Honeysuckle Studios. That
Mhm.
was kind of a piece of the pie that was missing.
Hmm.
We could say, well, we want you to
Right.
choose life, and we want you, and we can provide this, this, and this. But if she's standing there homeless, that's not really helping her.
Yeah.
So that was a piece that we were missing. So it's exciting to see that we'll be able to provide that.
Right. Because it's sort of like, here's the right thing, here's what we can do,
Right.
etc. But we can't do these other things. You're just gonna have
Yeah,
to do
just
that
figure
yourself.
that out yourself. Yeah,
Right. Right.
which really is it's not a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's super cool. What what are the kinds of things that Hope Center needs help with, volunteers for, etc.? What are ways that people can get involved in helping?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Obviously, we can give
do-
you money.
Okay.
Financial donations
Yeah, money's
are
always great,
accepted.
but yes. But volunteers, we do need volunteers.
Uh-huh.
And that can look a myriad of many, many things. A lot of people think that, well, I can't come in on a weekly basis, or I can't come in and do that.
Right.
But there's several things that, maybe you're good at graphic artists. You can help me do the newsletter because
Mhm.
I'm not good at those things. Maybe you're a good IT person.
Okay,
My
right.
computer needs.
You don't have an
There's-
IT person on staff at the Hope Center?
Yeah, I know. The budget doesn't put that one in there. But and obviously, we need if you're kind of a people person and you
Mhm.
want to work with the clients one-on-one, we definitely need more mentors,
Uh-huh.
more client advocates, more nurses.
Client advocate.
The client advocate is the position who, when they come in and they either want a pregnancy test or
Mhm.
they come in, they're already pregnant, but they will meet with them the first time,
Okay.
just to kind of establish where they are. Okay, do we feel that they're abortion minded? Are they abortion vulnerable? Or they're just carried to term? And there again, you have to somewhat be cautious, because even though they say they're going to carry to term, they have a lot of things in their life that's going to make it very challenging for them to carry to term.
Mhm.
Or maybe they're having the father of the baby, whether he's a boyfriend or they're married, it can look many ways, but maybe he's pressuring for an abortion. Maybe the parents are pressuring for an abortion.
Yeah.
So even though she's
Which is
adamant,
not uncommon.
correct, yes. So she might be adamant, but we know that those are things in her life that are speaking into her.
Yes,
And
yes.
as soon as she leaves us, she hears our voice for the moment.
Right.
But outside those walls, those voices are going to be speaking, and she's going to be hearing them. So,
yeah, for sure.
that client advocate is that person who works with them
Okay.
that first time through, that
Okay.
first visit,
Gotcha.
and kind of tries to create a plan for them, and then obviously we try to enroll them in our mentoring or parenting classes,
Mhm.
and get them to stay involved in the program. So.
Yeah. So getting involved obviously can look like volunteering in those kinds of ways. And that can be as involved as weekly, as involved as project-oriented things when
Right.
needs arise.
Events, sometimes we have certain events, like
Okay.
our fundraising gala,
Right.
getting ready to do a baby bottle campaign.
Okay.
So maybe they'll just come in and help for an event.
Okay. Right.
Things like that.
Uh-huh.
We have a boutique, which needs help. Obviously, it needs to be maintained,
Uh-huh.
needs to be stocked. Sometimes we get donations, clothes. We need
Okay.
to sort through those. So there's a lot of ways. If you're not comfortable doing interacting with the clients, there's always behind the scene things. If you have good office skills,
Okay.
or you're good at data entry, lots of ways to
So the
plug
whole
in.
gamut.
Yes.
Okay.
hmm
Cool. What are some of the ways that churches help best from your experience?
I think part of it is a big part is promoting the Hope Center,
Okay.
helping us. I've kind of always said, even when I was in Mansfield, that oftentimes I felt that our pregnancy center was the best kept secret in town,
Mm.
and we oughtn't be.
Mhm.
And one thing that's very similar to Mansfield and Greenville is that the number of churches. But I was just kind of always saddened by the small percentage of churches who were actively involved with the pregnancy center in their community.
Mhm.
So just the being aware, obviously, you've got people in your church that may need the Hope Center.
Sure.
And okay, I can refer you there. If you need, this, I can refer you there. If you need
Right.
parenting classes, I can refer you to that.
Yeah.
You need diapers? Okay, formula. Okay, Hope Center can help you with that.
Mhm.
So just that word of mouth. Obviously, if a church is equipped with classes that we can plug our people into, that's a huge help.
Okay.
Because it's, you can't be an expert in every field. So, that's nice to know those. And because, like I said earlier, we want those, our clients to be plugged into a church where the church then can disciple them and
Right.
make disciples.
Absolutely.
So it's a win-win, I think, both ways for the church and for the pregnancy center.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just to encourage your people to, you have a youth group, come over and, we'll do a work day.
Mm.
And it's a great way for them to find out about the ministry. And it's a big help to us.
Yeah.
You know.
Sort of weird, but somewhat related question. And this may be something you, there may be reasons not to do this, but do you, like say one of our small groups of, 10 to 12 couples, adults, 10 to 12 adults, 6 couples, wants to help with something.
Mhm.
And so they do a drive or whatever,
Mhm.
something, and they collect stuff within their small group, and they take it over, and they help with a certain project. Do you all do, hey, this is what we do, come see tours of things, so that people can see what you're doing? So if someone was interested to see what you all do, you'd be able to set up an appointment with somebody and say, hey, let me show you through, and here's where we do this, and here's where we do this.
Absolutely, we love
Okay.
to do that.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, we have groups through.
Okay.
I just ask that they call and set up
Yeah,
an
yeah,
appointment because we
right.
do guard the girls. We want to
Well,
maintain
that's
their
kind of why.
confidentiality.
Yeah, sure,
Mhm.
sure.
And Fridays we do not see clients on Fridays, and so that's a good day to do that.
Okay.
But I'll come in on a Saturday if that's the only time that they have to do that. That's that's not a problem. We
Yeah, I
can do
just
that.
thought there'd be a number of folks who
Mhm.
kind of might be interested in, hey, let's
Yeah.
go see what they actually do and learn
We,
about it some. That'd
I've
be
actually
helpful.
had groups like on like a Wednesday evening that they have like either their Bible study or whatever,
Mhm.
but they brought it over into the pregnancy center,
Hmm.
and that's been their service, and
Hmm.
we've just kind of had a time of prayer, and I've given them tours, shared with them a little bit about what the ministry is.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different possibilities that we can do, but yeah, we love visitors.
Yeah, cool. Here's an interesting question we had, and then I've got a couple just to wrap up. questions. Dialogue between pro-choicers and pro-lifers can be at times intense and ugly. What kind of resources do you know of that help explain or help advocate for a pro-life position in ways that that you would say do that well, graciously, effectively? Pro-life position, education. Is there other organizations, etc.? We had somebody who asked that. So
There's several organizations that do it well. One of them, and I'm sure it's one that everyone's heard of, is Focus on the Family. They're a good resource. Also, CareNet
yeah,
and Heartbeat International, and
which Hope Center is a part of.
we are affiliates of both of those,
Uh-huh.
and they have very good resources.
Okay.
So those are my prime go-to. There are others. There's many. You just have to kind of just pull it up on Google and they come out.
That's what I have found too. You just
Yes.
have to kind of get in there and
Right.
and read enough to realize, oh, this is kind of this the niche for these folks, and they
Right.
verbalize things this way and they
Yeah.
do this way. This one is a little different because I have found that myself.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And there's many books, and there again, you just kind of have to, and it's like with any topic, you
Right.
have to just, look at the source, look at the, what
Yeah.
are their, their references, that type of thing, and just kind of work it out. But you're right, it can be, I just rather put my energies elsewhere than, I'm glad for those people who can, it's needed, those that go to Washington and lobby, and but it's not the work of the pregnancy center. And sometimes, and I've had people get a little kind of miffed at me about that. You need to
Because
be,
you're not being intense enough.
right. You need to just pound this pro-life thing. But it's not really what the job of the pregnancy center is. It is to
right.
work with the clients that come in that have a need.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, do I appreciate those people that can do that and
Sure.
go and do it? We need those that lobby for the laws. And
Yeah. I'm friends with a few crazy people.
yeah,
Yeah.
And that's okay. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm glad they can do what they can do. But my calling, that's not my calling there at the
Yeah.
pregnancy center.
And as you're saying all that, it strikes me that, of course, a comprehensive and cohesive way of doing pro-life for the church, for the Christian, needs to be all of these things. We need people who are standing across from a Planned Parenthood saying, like, I will take your baby and raise it. Let's talk. We need people who are in Washington, in Nashville, doing legislation and lobbying for change of laws, and lawyers who are focused on that. But we very badly need people on the ground doing, and it strikes me that there's a very real sense in which Pregnancy Resource Center is, and I think these stats are still right, like 3 or 4 to 1 more of the resource centers to abortion clinics.
Yes.
That whole world of providing those services, and you've said it a couple times, which are entirely free, right? Is there a pregnancy resource center that isn't free? They're all totally free. I don't know of one that hasn't been.
Yeah.
Some
of them, there are some in the larger cities that maybe get into providing a lot of STD testing and treatment.
Right, and they have a little more medical.
And yeah, so they might charge for like the lab work,
Right,
but
right.
their service will still be free, that type
Right.
of thing. So,
Gotcha.
and then it would be just like
It's all
minimal.
yes, right. It's
yeah.
nominal at the most. And it strikes me that the Pregnancy Resource Center world is the on the ground day by day by day.
Kind of the boots to the ground.
It is. It is
Yep.
by far. Yeah. It's all needed. It's all important.
Right.
That's super cool.
And it's often, kind of like in the boots of the ground. We're in
I
the
found
trenches.
this on the web.
Sorry.
And
Siri
so,
talking.
so it's and I've often told people that, and you know this, being pastor. Ministry at times is messy.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
At the end of the day, sometimes, you just gets a little heavy, but then as you're working with clients and they come in and week after week, you see that maybe it's just a little bit of progress being made.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we had, not too long ago, a couple that was coming in. They had been ordered by the courts. And we were working with them. And, at the beginning, it was kind of tough. I mean, it was husband and wife.
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of like one of those, like, don't judge me,
Mhm,
and
sure.
just, But it was neat. A couple of weeks ago, they came in, and it was not appointment time.
Mm.
We knew something was up. Said, we got to talk to you. We've
Mm.
got, and it just made us feel good. And I'm kind of talking very vaguely because I'm protecting
Sure, sure.
confidentiality.
No, yeah, yeah.
But I'm going to
But
tell
they
you who they
felt
seen. Yeah.
like you were a place to
Right.
go to.
They said, we've had a hard day.
Yeah.
We're not, sure, what the courts are going to rule,
Mm.
but we need to talk to you.
That's great.
We need to talk to you.
That's great.
We're a safe haven. They knew.
Yeah.
We had another young gal come, and she said she had showed up about an hour early for her appointment. And she was one of ours that was dealing with addiction.
Mm.
And then we could tell she was either just needing a hit really bad or she's just coming off. But she said, I know I'm early and I know my appointment's not for almost an hour, but I needed somewhere to go. I needed somewhere safe.
Mm.
And I knew I could come here. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Come on in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are wins.
Those are wins.
Indeed.
Those are.
Good stuff.
Makes it all worthwhile.
We'd like to finish up by asking, what's God teaching you lately, and what are you excited or encouraged about? In whatever order or form or fashion.
Well, excited. I'll start with that one first.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think, that one is pretty easy. It's just the anticipation of having the Honeysuckle Studios come to a fruition and open,
Mm.
and that ministry to be started.
Mm.
So definitely excited about that. Excited about some of the changes that we have implemented in the pregnancy center itself, and just seeing progress being made, that it's functioning as a true pregnancy resource center. So I'm excited about that. And the other part of your question, you have to remind me again.
What's God teaching you?
What's God teaching me? Oh, goodness. That's a hard one. I think as Christians, we're always learning.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
God's teaching us in the most, sometimes the most unexpected ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, at this stage, He's teaching me obedience to the call, and to trust Him more with those things that, if you would have told me 2 years ago, I would have made this huge move at this stage of my life.
Right.
I was comfortable.
Yeah.
And it was not on my radar. So just learning to trust Him that I've got a plan.
Mm-hmm.
You need to step into the water,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to work this together. So.
Yeah. Because when you when you say yes to those kinds of things, and you have thoughts and vision about
Mm-hmm.
how it needs to be,
Right.
or progress that needs to be made,
Right.
and you can think, okay, I'm in the water and
Mm-hmm.
I'm drowning, and
Right, right.
and not that you're drowning, but you think,
Yeah.
when are we going to start floating, and when are
Right.
these things going to happen?
Right.
Because I've been trying to implement this or that, and it feels like,
Yeah.
Lord, why have you said this?
Mm-hmm.
And I've said yes, but
Mhm.
it's hard to know that future in a way that means today I continue, right? A lot of people give that process up
Mhm.
of moving forward because the today
Mhm.
seems so the same, everyday, boring, right? We talk here a lot about everyday, boring faithfulness.
Right.
But without that everyday, boring faithfulness, we're never getting there.
Mhm.
And it is hard when you have a vision for things
Mhm.
and or you've seen it because you've experienced it, and you think this could happen here too.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
I knew that, it would be challenging. I knew that.
Sure.
But I'm kind of one of those people that I think sometimes you work best when you are.
That drives you a bit.
Yeah, kind of. One of those strange people. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Cool. Good
Yeah.
stuff. Well, thanks for being with us for Coffee Convos.
Thank you
And,
for having me.
We went over our 45 minutes, which my apologies, because you said, hey, yeah, that sounds good as an introvert. Let me pray for you to close up, and then we'll end.
Thank you.
Lord, thank you for Pam and for her gifts and for how you've brought her to the Hope Center. We're grateful for her leadership and her skills. We ask that you continue to use her in ways that bear fruit for the sake of volunteers, for the sake of those who are at the Hope Center who help, for the sake of men and women who come in for help, and for the sake of those children who are in the wombs of these women. We pray that you would be with these situations, these circumstances, these women. Continue to use the Hope Center to minister to those in our community for the sake of your goodness and glory. And we pray for them to continue to be a witness toward that end. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff. Thank you. Join us next time at Coffee Convos.